Hello and welcome to True Words Aren't Beautiful. Hey everyone, so as you know, I got back safely from Mount Mantalingahan the other week. And I've been delaying this video for a while because there have been a few things I've been reflecting on top of the fact that I actually had a couple of demons that invaded my mind space. Literal demons. I actually had to have an exorcism a few days ago. And I've also decided that after this video, I'm likely to take a short hiatus. Details later in this video. But before I get started, Happy Easter! It is Sunday morning here in Manila. If it means anything to you, cool. If not, I wish you well all the same. So anyway, let's give you a quick summary of what happened on Mount Mantalingahan. So, if you don't know what that is located in the southern island of Palawan in the Philippines, and it is known as the hardest mountain and traverse in the country. The organizers I've spoken with, of different tour groups and event hosts, have all said, if you can climb this mountain and finish this traverse, you can climb any mountain in the country. I do have to say, this is 100% true because of the dangers and the challenges I experienced there, physically, mentally, and spiritually. I mean, there were some moments where I felt like I was either Lara Croft or Nathan Drake from Tomb Raider and Uncharted respectively, or Indiana Jones for non-gamers and people who love adventures, because there were times when the trail was so narrow, I could only put one foot in front of the other like this, and my entire foot would not fit on that narrow path. Thankfully, I actually decided to cheat and hire a porter for $100 for this whole trip for the week. And had I not done that, I do not believe I would have made as good distance and time as I did. But at the same time, I'm glad that previous long traverses and mountains and summits and trails I've gone on, I had a heavy bag because that was classic martial arts training right there. Carrying weights with you while living your normal daily life. So, I had my assault pack with me as opposed to my heavy bag, and wow, I moved fast. I was with the lead group most of the time, and if there was a delay, there was maybe 30 to 45 minutes behind them, whereas other people would come in an hour or two, or sometimes much later than me, for this trail. And there are times during those adventurous moments, besides the narrow trail, or the challenge of the sun, if I didn't keep momentum, then I wouldn't be able to do things like cross gaps on those narrow paths, grabbing roots and grabbing vines just to support myself as I crossed and climbed. So there are other things that we saw, such as one guy validated that the spirits I would see in different campsites were actually there. I saw humanoids with hairy bodies and bat wings, and I saw a giant white hairy cyclops in one campsite. This was like looking at art on old Magic the Gathering cards from the 90s in some sites. And other times, it felt like I was in another dimension. As of now, this is my last hike for the next few weeks because I have not been able to raise funds for my April climb. And with the summer and El Nino coming, some places like Mount Apo have closed. I'm supposed to go there from May 2nd through 5th, but the park was closed for 10 days in March, and it has been extended as of a few days ago until the end of April. We don't know if I'll be able to go there due to the fact that El Nino has caused such severe heat. There's an incredibly high risk of forest fires, among other dangers there. The recent heat, however, did prepare me quite a lot when I was in Palawan for Mount Mantalingahan, and thankfully, because it wasn't raining, yeah, we didn't have any water sources, but no scorpions and no malaria. But you see this, I'm scorched. See those tan lines? Yeah. So, very good challenge. I feel good about myself. I asked if I was still a beginner since I've only been doing this for the past 4 months. And everyone said, nope, you're no longer a beginner. But I will in no way say that I'm advanced because I do not have the best equipment. I do not have the best tent because what I carry is too heavy. I don't have the best shoes or the best bag. When I'm able to raise enough income, whether it's finding the right job very soon, which I need to do, or making something of myself with what I'm doing right now, we will see. Some things I've reflected on are perhaps running my own tours, themed ones, meditation retreats where I teach my internal martial yoga and other stuff, or go on ghost hunts and monster hunts. I mean, I already, to some people, look like a monster hunter or an anime character or adventurer. I was at a geek convention recently. They call it Komiket, Komiket here. And over there, everyone was cosplaying, dressed up as their favorite anime or video game characters, and they thought I was a cosplayer simply because I was dressed up in my outdoor gear. So, this is where I'd like to get into this whole idea of circles in a moment, where people project their environment and their experiences onto other people. Those people's experiences are nerdy culture, which are also my experiences and interests. But to them, I'm cosplaying. To me, I'm just wearing what's comfortable. Likewise, when they hear me talking about anime, video games, and board games when I'm mountaineering, most people say, okay bro, cool. That is because here in the Philippines, and increasingly as I've seen with a lot of Americans in the cities, our interests end up being very limiting because we can't afford to have multiple interests because they cost money and they require time. Especially for those who live in Manila, with the rising cost of living and inadequate income, as well as shrinking portions at Jollibee here. Just look it up and you'll see people complaining about it in the Philippines. You can only afford one hobby or interest, and the rest of the things you do are pretty much on your phone and with your small group of friends, your small circle, your crew, or as they call it here, Barkada. Barkada. So if you're a mountaineer, that's pretty much all you will do. You might have other people who do extreme sports, like a group I know who do jiu-jitsu or CrossFit or Spartan, and then they go into this one particular mountaineering group. So when I go amongst the nerds, outdoorsy stuff, I think I only know one person who will do this as well, and that is my ex-girlfriend Dana. She likes the nerdy things, but she has the income to be able to afford these things. And that's how we got along. We have exactly the same interests, and we go between circles. But let's not reminisce too much on that. What I'd like to go into here with circles is a very, very classic Taoist story about the frog in the well. So imagine for a moment you are a frog at the bottom of a well, and you look up, you see the sky above you, and you think you see all of reality right there. But this is all you see. If you pull that frog out of that well, you tell him there's more to see. He will be very surprised that what he has seen is just tunnel vision. A very small section of the vast expanse that is the sky and the world around him. He does not know that because he is stuck at the bottom of the well, much like Plato's cave allegory. But what I like about this version, or this framework of our reality bubbles and tunnels, you can pull the frog out of the well, but you can't unchain the people who are gazing at shadows dancing on the wall. So when it comes to circles, let's say that you have the circle of mountaineers over here, then you have the circle of nerds over here, you have the circle of visual artists here, the circle of musicians here, and you have the circle of spiritual and energetic cultivators over here. So that's 5 or 6 circles there, doesn't matter. And those are all my interests. You might include another circle here, which is this vlog, and I say, okay, cool. This is just something I like to do. I am not a vlogger, I am not a mountaineer, I am not a board gamer or video gamer, I am not an anime otaku nerd, I am not a guitarist or musician, I am not an illustrator. I am all of these things and nothing. And what makes me enjoy this whole idea of the circle is because I have so many varied interests, I'm not stuck in one group or one group's identity and projections. One of the things that makes me more joyful is knowing that I'm not stuck. And that's what leads to a lot of suicides and why I have those thoughts, because I felt my life was stuck. Since I didn't have my income and I didn't have my girlfriend whom I screwed up in that relationship. That relationship I screwed up, it's no longer something that I'm crying about anymore, because as opposed to feeling stuck like most suicides or suicide attempts, I don't feel stuck since I can jump between one circle to the next. And those are just for interests. They don't define who I am. They just happen to remind me that the world is a huge place. I am not Poblacion Makati. I am not the mountaineer in this group. I am not one of the members of a general chat on Facebook. I am not the guy who was banned from a thread on Reddit because someone doesn't like my comment. I am everything and nothing. There's a line in the fourth Matrix film where Smith says to Neo, "You could be anyone, but anyone could be me." I might be paraphrasing that wrong, but I like that line where I could be anyone. I'm not limited to anything. So, this also reminds me of a line I heard years ago when a friend tried to insult me by saying, "Oh, good luck with you. I hope you have the best life ever with all your interests instead of any focus." You know, there is a concept for people with cultured interests, with a diverse set of interests, and we call that the Renaissance man. The Renaissance man is a human being who, like me and you, have many interests. They're not limited to one thing. Likewise, there are many failures when you over-specialize. Think of the publisher for a newspaper or magazine. In 2024, who is he right now? Now that blogging and vlogging and citizen journalism has taken over. Sure, we have misinformation and we have a lot of loud people and their opinions, which are often uninformed. But the fact of the matter is, we have our information much more easily and accessible right now compared to the gatekeepers and the limitations of that from the classic publishing industry. It's nice to explore and discover, and for that reason, even with all the misinformation out there, the classic publisher struggles. And yet, the independent publisher thrives because they don't have high ambitions or scales. They're a nice little boutique or niche. So when I have another example of people such as the soldier whose identity is being a soldier who returns to society, who is he when he's no longer part of his squad? Who is he when he no longer has a structure? Or what about the prisoner once he's released? Who is he once he's out, especially when people will judge him for being a former convict? If you fall into one circle by choice, this is where your misery comes from. Then there's the other type of misery where a circle, an identity, a label, a box is where people will throw you into. Just like the nerds at Comiket threw me into the cosplayer box. The mountaineers threw me into the weirdo box. The cultivators threw me into the martial box, or the martial yoga box. The musicians throw me into the rocker box. The visual artists throw me into the pen, pencil, and pastel box. I don't create any of these boxes. And even then, there's one bigger box, or circle, that is more dangerous. The "who are you" box. The question that has been a constant meditation throughout this channel's existence. Who are you? Who is Johnny C? I am everything and I am nothing. Anyone could be me and I could be anyone. And that's what makes me free. An earlier example of going between circles and creating that new circle or identity is what I am, a third culture kid. Again, something that I used to latch onto for years, and now it doesn't even register. I'm just Johnny C. So a third culture kid, let's explain briefly what a third culture is. So let's say that I'm Asian American, already a different kind of box. Born in the US. Alright, so my first identity is American. Then I move to the Philippines and Hong Kong, so I go to Asia. So I say, okay, so I've returned to my mother cultures of Chinese and Filipino. But there is that third culture, that in-between, that interface. So I'm traveling between the US and Asia. In between this little intersection is where that confusion of, am I American, am I Asian? I'm too Asian to be American, I'm too American to be fully Asian. So what am I? I'm that middle culture, that interface. And that is what keeps me fluid, on a spectrum. And at the same time, that new identity comes from being both Asian and American, but not Asian American. And at the same time, neither fully Asian, nor am I fully American. I'm just me, and I'm weird, and that's fine. So with all my interests and all the skills I have, I'm not limited to one career choice. I'm not limited to one hobby group. And that's what makes me free. Sure, when I get stuck in this part of Manila for the longest time, I get aggravated because I see the same people who project the same judgments onto me where they say, oh, he's kind of a serial killer because he seems weird. I don't like the vibe I get from him sitting down there alone. Well, that's someone projecting that they're uncomfortable with me being comfortable with myself. They cannot find something or a framework that I fit into, so they assume negatively. That is the danger of the unknown. That is the danger of circles and tunnel vision, where if it doesn't fall into your understanding of reality, it's something you fear. This is why it's good to jump between circles. This is why people take vacations, because they're no longer limited to the identity that is imposed upon them by their community or their co-workers or their neighborhood. You get to breathe and you get to recreate yourself each time you hop in the car, on a train, or on a plane, and you go to a completely new environment. No one is going to follow your baggage. No one is going to follow your past. You can recreate yourself wherever you go. And you don't even need to travel miles away. 10,000 miles away is no different from 10 miles away to the next town. No one knows you, no one cares. This is why it's great to be able to recreate yourself every moment. And I'm recreating myself every single moment when I reflect and I jump to the next thing that's interesting to me, whether it's picking up my guitar or opening up a board game or chatting with someone who I haven't talked with for a few months. There's a lot more that I have to say, but this video is getting quite long, and I would like to talk about the classical conflicts, but I think I'll save that for another video. My plans moving forward while I take a break and try to raise some funding, and if you'd like to give, by the way, there's always a donation in my description for my Ko-fi account. So, one of the things I would like to do as I take this break is focus on assembling footage from my different climbs so you can see what I have seen, as opposed to just a video of me talking here. Perhaps I will have videos of me talking with other people to talk about their circle in life, their philosophy of just doing shit. There's so much more I'd like to touch upon, but I need to get this video out and let you know that it may be a while before the next video. I'd like to assemble that footage and let you see where I am so far. Because after conquering the hardest mountain, and now this long break between now and the next one, anything could happen in this time, but that's not going to stop me from growing. And in case you're wondering what's going on, this video is me announcing that this is why there will be a hiatus, somewhat of a hiatus. Alright everyone, happy Easter, happy Ramadan, whatever it is you celebrate. Take care.